Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I am Debashis Basu. India is facing a serious economic slowdown and everyone has his own ideas how to accelerate growth. Well, for a very long time I have been saying repeatedly that India can be on the path of super growth but for just one reason. And that reason is endless rules and regulations at the national, state and local levels which create what academics call regulatory friction. And why is this important? Because growth and jobs are created by only one set of economic actors. The millions of entrepreneurs and self-employed people from the farmer to the largest corporation. They are the ones who create growth and need to be encouraged and freed from unnecessary rules. But of course, these days job creators even have taunts and insults hurled at them by politicians. Businessmen usually take all that lying low. They know the power of the state and so they just try to get around the rules quietly. However, it seems that the serial economic follies of the past 6 years combined with a punitive kind of governance is finally driving home a new realization among businessmen. And so last week we saw two top businessmen complain about overregulation, which actually is a very mild description of the real problem. What we have in the name of overregulation is the toxic alchemy of extortion, rent-seeking and pure procedural harassment that the state delights in creating for enterprises. One of the two businessmen who spoke out was Rajiv Bajaj, who has been claiming that there is no slowdown so far, and he even rebuked other businessmen for not being innovative enough. He is now suddenly singing a different tune. It is overregulation that is killing the industry, he alleges. Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran says India is fraught with micromanagement and suspicion. If India needs to grow faster, we need to remove the obstacles that impede businesses, he says. Since 2014, most Indian businessmen have believed that a committed nationalist government is hard at work to build a new India. Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi was expected to replicate his much publicized success in Gujarat across the country. He won in 2014 on the promise of development, remember. Now, as far as I remember, for the first time, a national politician talked of removing red tape in election speeches as Mr. Modi did. And when he asked the cheering youth, "Aapko naukri chahiye ki nahi chahiye?" one naturally expected him to give enterprises the freedom from mindless red tape. Unfortunately, the real agenda of the government became clear in 2014 itself. The Modi government went about putting a computer chip on dozens of schemes of the Congress government because everything was now digital and peddled them as brilliant new ideas with new themes. Every legislative change and policy only added to coercion, intrusion, suspicion and criminalization and punishment with jail terms even for small errors of omissions. In a corrupt country, these became tools for private as well as state extortion. Meanwhile, the political and social agenda, which is cow protection, lynching, nationalism, Pakistan, Kashmir and the flaws of Gandhi-Nehru dynasty completely overshadowed the economic debate. Even then, businessmen, financial sector experts and most of the media continued to live under a mass delusion that a new India was being built. One of the two business segments which got hit badly last year is 150cc class of two-wheelers, a mass market vehicle which Bajaj Auto manufactures. The first blow it received was a Supreme Court order making vehicle owners to compulsorily buy a 5-year insurance policy upfront. This added several thousand rupees in insurance cost to the vehicle price. In April 2019, new safety norms imposed another cost of 8 to 10,000 rupees. As Bajaj puts it, in just 1 year, there was a 20% hike in cost, that is 15,000 rupees on a motorcycle that cost 70,000. Now, set against this, imagine that a manufacturer really takes a cost increase of just 2 to 4% every year on a vehicle like 150cc. I say this is overregulation. In a country where you struggle to drive at more than 20 to 30 kilometers per hour, given the state of the roads, to impose 8 to 10,000 rupees cost for safety measures such as ABS is completely over the top, said Mr. Bajaj. He went on to add, it may be politically incorrect to say that, but BS6 is not the right thing to do. But getting rid of old vehicles through a suitable mechanism would have been much more effective than squeezing out the last bit of emission from a BS4 vehicle. Instead, we are going for BS6 from April, and this will mean another 8 to 10,000 rupee increase in cost of vehicles for the common man. That means in a 1.5 year period, prices of a common man's two-wheelers will go up by 30%. To me, this is tangible, hard issue on the ground. He went on to ask, does the government have the humility to reflect and roll back some of these? I'm afraid Bajaj doesn't know that humility is not a feature of any state or any government, irrespective of its political color. And this government is the one that has offered no apology for Aadhaar deaths, was remorseless about the demonic impact of demonetization, and has inserted insane provisions of arrests and jail terms into various laws. It's good to see businessmen speak up about issues that hurt them instead of being politically correct. But that leaves unanswered a simple question. Why would the state be so irrationally punitive, intrusive, and extortive? By what insane logic should politicians attack job creators? And why do we have laws that treat everyone as criminals rather than focus on enforcement and justice system to catch the crooks? Just ask yourself. Don't the ministers and their bright IAS officers know the cost of delays in decision making, innumerable rules, dozens of licenses, retroactive amendments, long pending court cases, irrational tax demands, and punitive laws? I cannot believe they don't. They all know it very well what all of this is doing to growth. It is intentional to give them the upper hand and keep businessmen in their place. They don't want to simplify things or give freedom. The smartest of the business people begging for simplification, people like Rajiv Bajaj asking for the government to be humble and roll back things, are simply naive. They do not get the politics behind this intentional over-regulation. The solution to this, or rather to meet with this sort of thing, is not to cry as they're doing, not to appeal as these two people have done, but bring data to the table. List down the friction points and how much they cost, and if these are removed, how many more jobs could be created by a more productive and a competitive Indian industry. It is this systematic research work that should be commissioned by business associations or think tanks or by these business people themselves having got together. The data should then be taken to the government and to the people through media. Sadly, until this hard work is done, it will be difficult for Bajaj and Chandrasekhar to stop the overreach of regulation simply by voicing their opinion. The netas and babus and policymakers just don't care. Thanks for watching.